So hi there and welcome back. So we are back again with this video where we left with a good form which was doing its stuff. It was doing some validation, basic validation. It was validating the user. It was checking on the fields. We have a good UI in terms of a normal form, and then we were also saving the correct form over here. Now with this, it was really being able to show you how these things are delivered in the Angular world. But now we are going to convert the entire thing into an into a Redux NGRX solution. So this is Siddhartha Verma, and we are going to continue with this course. And let's see. And if you really like this video, please stay continue with us. Do definitely support us so that we always and always try to deliver some valuable things to you in this tech world, because sharing is caring, and sharing increases your knowledge. Okay, so first of all, before going to this, we are first of all going to make some folder structure which are essential whenever you are going to deliver some NGRX solutions. So over here, we are going to then create a folder which is NGRX like this. Okay, or you can do it as a Redux, but you can store anything like Redux. And in the Redux, I then want to support a index.ts file, and here in the Redux folder, I'm then going to create a folder which is known as a store. And this store basically will deal as the main area where I can store my solutions, where I can store my actions, my reducers, and my effects. All of these terms will later explain individually. But here, first of all, we need to store some values. And in order to store those values, here, basically, you should have three folders, which are actions, as per the NGRX pattern and the Redux pattern. Here should be the reducers, and then here should be another file which is effects. Okay, and then here should be another folder which are named as selectors, like this. Now each of these personal files should have their own index.ts. Okay, so this file should always be here, here, and here. Let's now quickly close everything, and now you get a basic idea that there should be the actions, here should be the effects, here should be the reducers, and here should be the selectors. And with this form, now we should take more often to the things in action. Now once we notice that here should be the actions, we also need the effects, we also need the reducers, we also need the selectors. First of all, I would really like to go through the actual NGRX concept. Now, if we go towards our introduction, here we see that we have different things, and in the store, I have, if you remember, I have really explained you all the state management lifecycle for the NGRX solution. Now here we have this selector, we have the component, we have the action, we have the effects and the services. Okay, but first of all, the main entity what we are dealing with would be the actions. This one, the actions. Now in the actions, if you want to create the action are the main source of communication between your component, your effects, your reducers, and between all of those entities. Actions pretty much describe what you are going to perform and which action you want to pursue. So these actions serves the purpose of dispatching anything from your component and then grabbing that, doing some plus and minus, and then grabbing the state back to you. Also, NGRX and the Redux pattern somewhere behind the scenes remembers each and everything, logs each and everything based on these actions. These actions will serve then as a log by which you can understand what all things happen, for what purpose, and when, with the help of these action statements. Now, in order to create this action, and we can go to the architecture, we need to first of all create such action. So if we come again to our application where we were having our application and we were having a code, here we want to create this so-called action. So in the actions file, I can then do authentication dot actions dot ts file, like this, authentication dot actions dot ts file. Now here we need to import something from our @NGRX slash store, and that something will be a function which is known as createAction. Now, it's always recommended that you always write your action in a constant and then use those constants everywhere. For example, what actions do I can perform? I can perform a login and a login success or login failure. These are my three actions what I'm gonna do. So on login action, and the state of the action could be now really something like this. So I can do here, it needs the component we are working in, so I'm working in app component. Okay, I'm working in app component and state your action over here. So it's login action. Okay. Okay. Another action could be const on login success action. There can be some success when your credentials are correct and you submit the form, that is known as a success action. So app component where I have login success action, something like this. You do. Now with this, I can also say on login failure action. That means your action, your attempt to log in was failed, and your data knows that you were failed while pursuing that action. So I can say component, app component, and I can name this thing as login failure, failure action, something like this. So if we see here, we understand that these are nothing but a way to represent your actions. These are normal strings, and somewhere they represent the original state for what you are trying to do itself. Okay, these are like some solution by which you can tell what things you are trying to achieve. Okay. Now, once you have this actions, you are going to create some action for this. And this create action really helps you to bind, to club your actions and what all inputs and outputs you require to perform those actions. Now, you will understand all of these extra things in a bit once I can show you some solutions. So I can say const on login, on login, and this shouldn't be the action term. This should be just the normal terms, just like this method. And you should then name it as action. And here you are going to create some actions like this. And similarly, you are going to create action for on login success action. This is my success action. I can do create action. And then I can do const on login failure action, where I then also do create action like this. Now, these callback functions requires you to pass the action statements where you want to work. And while performing that action, if you have some logic to be performed, then you need to give them some properties, like what will be the proper payload, what will be the proper inputs in order to complete this action. So I say that in order to complete the on login, you need some props, and the props means the properties, and the props here would be username, which is going to be of type string, and the password, which is again going to be of type string. And once you have provided the input, you need to call this thing. Okay. And this props also comes from the NGRX store props. Okay. So these are the props where I specify that when login happens, you need this thing to work. Okay. Also, what I can now do is if my login succeeds, then what will be my props? My props will be is login. Yeah, I can say login success message needs to be provided. A login success message needs to be provided, or I can say another thing, which is a status. Now, a status can be of two kinds of. It can be a success, it can be a failure. So I can then do const, or I can then give it a type. I can then do a type. Login status can be two, success or failure. There can be only two aspects to one's life. So here then I give that if on login success, it should be a login status, and more often the status should login status, and there should be some message which is of type string. And if there is a failure, then you should always and always give some status, which can be a login status, and where my message can be a string. And with this, I need to also call this props. Okay. Now I understood that this should be an enum. Okay, this should be an enum where I then specify that the success leads to success and my failure then leads to the failure property. Like this. Let's format this code a bit, and then this should be dot success and this should be failure. And now these all things should be exported from this file. So you can export your terms here, just like this, with all of these values, just like this, like this. Let's hit save, and yeah, it should be something like this now. So here we have seen many things. We have created an enum to specify the status. We have the on login success, on login failure. We have actions, and now we have exported those actions. Now, in order to use all of these things, there are more things to it, but this is how you create an action in Angular and NGRX world. Let's see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. I will now see you in the next one.